All right, I think we're live. People will start showing up in a second. I swear they will. I know they will. I know they're coming in. I'm reminding them and telling them right now that we're going live. How you doing, people? Join me. Gather round. What's happening? It's going to be crazy. Hello. Let's see if I can go back to this page and reopen it. Hi, we're about to go live. It's true. Here we come, and it's getting exciting. Here we go. About to go live. Hey people, how you doing? Good to see you. Shannon, you made it. Liberty B, what's going on? Hey patrons and everybody. I will be doing my normal takedown of the president's press conference, which was next level nonsense today. Like he's starting to outdo himself. I'm very impressed. But last night, and / this morning, I'm not quite sure when it happened because sleep has been a weird scheduling thing. I had a massive nightmare that just seemed to drag on forever. And normally I wouldn't bother anybody with this kind of stuff, but I figured if there's anybody I could bring on board to talk me down from the nightmare that we are all currently in is our dear friend Mark Savard, hypnotist, lifestyle coach. I don't know. There's so much about you that over the years, you teach hypnosis, you do stage hypnosis. You've been doing it as comedy, but also you're a master at the therapeutic effect. You are the only person I've ever allowed to hypnotize me. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Savard. There he is.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
I watched the press conference. I follow what's going on. I got nothing.
Yeah. Well, then you are an astute a viewer of reality, because there's nothing to grasp from this, and if you came away with it going, I get it now, I would check yourself for a brain tumor, honestly. Because yeah,
it is absolutely mind-boggling to see what's happening. It is almost like our dearest president he's living in an alternate reality. Mm-hmm. He can say one thing that is a complete, absolute lie, followed by the doctor who comes up immediately and says, that's not true.
Yeah. They are live time correcting him. Before you had to wait until, later on that night, and they would tweet out something. Well, the president wasn't exactly correct when he said that the meteor headed towards the Earth was small enough to not even be noticed, and that you probably should go to work. It turns out it's 6,000 times the size of the moon, and it's a minor difference. They would tweet it out later. Now they're all but elbowing him out of the way, and you can hear them in the back going like that, and he'll go, why don't you, Mike, why don't you go ahead and say something right about that? And any question about supplies or any of that stuff that's going to be, totally on his shoulders later on, he shelves off on Mike Pence.
Part of me feels like, when he's saying, we've got the vaccine coming, or we're solving this particular medication may work. It almost feels like he's doubling down on predictions so that maybe one of them hits. And then in 3 weeks, he can say, see, I was right all along. Because there's no other explanation for it.
No.
He's gambling people's lives.
No, and it's all he cares about is the business part of it. And so that's all he's hoping actually changes. It'll go like this is, listen how he talks about it. And I'm always amazed by how people, what language they choose to use and what their priority is in a conversation. They give clues away very easily to what is meaningful to them in any circumstance. And in his case, it's always, look, the economy was awesome, then this came out of nowhere, screwed up the whole thing, and it'll be back to being fine in a little bit, which, in the old days would drive conspiracy theorists nuts. They would just go, this is the government get your shotguns. The government's going to cleanse us, put us all in FEMA camps so that they can kill off the weak amongst the herd like that. But because it's him and it's because he's theirs, they ignore it. But that seems to be the only thing that matters to him in this whole process.
It almost seems like it is just, I mean, I understand that government and I understand these press conferences is a PR thing, but it seems like it's only a PR thing. That's all it is. It's only a PR thing. It's all about public perception. And when most of your base gets your news, gets the Fox News propaganda, then do you care? It seems like if you just continue to lie, I mean, this country would be served better if we just didn't allow him to do press conferences. Remember a year ago, we're like, we get no press conferences. We get absolutely no press conferences.
Right.
Now we've gotten, 3 or 4 days in a row, we're like, stop the press conferences.
Yeah, right. Well, he's getting nothing but STFU messages from the Capitol. Like, everybody is telling him stop it, because every time he steps up there and says, we're going to see what's happened, it'll be fine, things will work out better than they ever did, the stock market takes a huge dump, and they're making him go out there on stage with these people just so they can jump and they can throw themselves in front of the bus. And you'll see the stock market kind of level for a second while Fauci and them are talking. And then as soon as he goes, it starts, oh no. It's almost like a lie detector for what he's doing. It's like the stock market is the inversion of his nose growing on live television.
It's absolutely mind-boggling. Did you hear the latest thing where he said that he doesn't want the unemployment numbers to be released? He actually requested, do not, the unemployment, the people who are applying for benefits, they don't want the numbers, because obviously that's going to tank. That's all he's got is he had the economy.
That's
he
right.
had the unemployment, which of course we know where that started, and we're not going to take that away from him. It was continuing to grow, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But he is absolutely trying to just manage the public relations of this catastrophe. And the sad part of it is the last 3 years, it wasn't costing American lives, and now it is, and that's where it's
Well, I would argue that it was, but in a softer fashion and was less overt. It's kind of the difference between the death toll in the initial beginning of the Iraq War and the soft rolling death toll of the Iraq War over time. You can argue that the number has gone down, but if you stretch it out over the years, it just becomes a subtle indicator.
Or like the argument he had with the earthquake or the hurricane. If the deaths are only what happened that day, we don't count the other ones where that happens later.
Well, and that's the part that's been bugging me about his entire discussion about this and how people seem to go to understand this, because the deaths from so you've got, and I've explained it to my viewers, and they have a good grasp of it on my radio show. We've been talking about this for 3 friggin' months. If you have 100% of the people who get the disease in a group, and 80% of them are asymptomatic carriers, that means they are spreading it faster than a disease where you have to be symptomatic to carry it. So that 80% is growing the 20% that requires hospitalization, and the 5% that's in that 20% that dies quickly from it, exponentially. So they're making that 20% in the 80-20 rule, they're making that 20% a brand new 80% in another equation, right? That's why it's exponential growth. So in the 20% of people that need hospitalization, of the 15% of that 20% that won't die from it, but just need a ventilator, a respirator, possibly a lung tube if their lungs get bad enough, and a chest tube, and they need a tracheotomy if eventually they're on long-term, responsive and unresponsive care to this. That's a bed they're taking up and a machine they're taking up for anybody who's in a car accident, who has a heart attack, who's injured, who falls ill quickly, who gets food poisoning, and their kidneys start to shut down. The 2.1 million people die every year in this country naturally. I think it's 2.7 or whatever. A good half of them required extended hospitalization in trying to save their life before they fail. Another 2.7 million could be hospitalized and killed because of this, and they'll never get treatment. And that doesn't include the original 2.1% of people who are now in line to get medical care behind anybody who has already got this disease.
And also add the crossover of, I mean, if I had some type of thing that would cause me to, be admitted to the hospital or go to get checked out at an emergency, I'm going to second guess about going in, because I may go in with an injured wrist, but now there's an increased risk of medical professionals passing on COVID-19 to me, other patients passing. Last place I want to go to a hospital right now. So now we have sure, it's one thing to not get beds, but now we have a complete crossover, which again goes back to your exponential growth.
It's frightening.
Well, what makes this so dangerous is really three factors, and I know that you and I talked on the phone yesterday about the R not factor, and that's one thing. But the second thing is it's moving into a herd that has no immunity.
Yes,
and the death rate is substantially higher than the regular flu. And you combine those three things, and this is what we're dealing with. And this is why Italy's in big trouble, and I don't think we're far behind. I mean, they said that New York City is going to be out of beds by March 31st, and they've now upped that. They think they're out of beds in the next 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, that is in its own way. This is one of the most frightening aspects of it. Check your mic real quick. Let me hear. Make sure I've got it. Yeah, you're good. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was just on my end. That's the cascading effect that no one understands. Like even these kids who are down at in Fort Lauderdale or whatever and hanging out. You don't understand that if you're in a bus crash on your way back, beg your pardon, my graphics are weird. If you're in a bus crash on your way back, you will not have respirators. The analogy I keep using is the kid in The Fugitive who's on the gurney that has the busted rib and it's a punctured lung, and nobody's diagnosing him correctly, so they're triaging because they can only deal with certain people at once. So they go, he's fine, don't worry about them. They move on to somebody else, and Harrison Ford is going, he's got a punctured lung, he knows what, so they're like, can you take him up to observation? And he changes the order and sends him to the operating room, saves his life. There's going to be hallways full of people where they're like, I know exactly what's wrong with him. I know exactly what's wrong with his lungs. I can't save him. It's too late. I can save her, or vice versa. That's the part that I don't think people recognize. And if you come in with an injury, the other thing too is my mom's a nurse. My mom could volunteer as a nurse and come off the bench and help with something if there was a flood or there was all kinds of stuff. And she does often. She vaccinates people. She does that kind of stuff. The problem in this case is she's in higher danger of getting an infection from this and dying from it. So she can't go in there. If they had enough tests, they could create an A site and a B site, send all the auxiliary older people who want to come off the bench and help, the doctors and nurses, to the B site. The B site is where you go if you have a broken arm, or if you fall down a flight of stairs, or you've got what's obviously food poisoning. They test you and send you to the B site. Okay, you don't have coronavirus, go to the B site. There will be doctors and nurses there to treat you. Your cancer treatment, your dialysis, all that kind of stuff will be at site B. Site A is strictly infection site. And that's what has to be done right now. And that's why you have to test everybody.
Right, but we're so far behind on testing that now we're not going to do. There's nothing preventative. It's all reactionary. I was in high school. I was raised in a community of 2,800 people, and they got our drama department.
Well, Canadians.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But they brought in our drama department to reenact or to act out a mass casualty scenario. So they brought in a school bus, and they did a whole thing and they trained our entire medical staff, and all of us drama kids had professional, Hollywood style makeup and all done up. And it's very interesting because I was on the receiving end of that, and you hear, and I'll never forget it, you hear the doctors, now they were tagging everyone's wrists with red, yellow, and green, and if you were red, you were considered critical, and they moved you to different departments, and I got to see the actual inner workings of that. And you hear people say, "Oh, this one's not worth. This one moved to the other side. That we can't save this one." And I have never forgotten that. I mean, I was in 7th or 8th grade,
Yeah.
and it's quite remarkable, to actually be on the receiving end of that. That I don't think people realize what's coming.
Yeah. Well, and also the psychology, and this is kind of something we can talk about that's in the zone of, you and I both deal with audiences a lot. You directly, because, and to anybody who's just joining us, this is Mark Savard. He's a dear friend. He's a hypnotist here in Vegas. When life goes back to abnormal, I can't recommend his show highly enough. You're going to be streaming all kinds of stuff on your channel as well. Do you have a URL, or is it like your YouTube channel just called, / the Mark Savard channel, or what is it?
Yeah, the YouTube's, I mean,
yeah,
it's Mark Savard Comedy Hypnosis on YouTube, but it's Mark Savard Comedy Hypnosis on Facebook, and it's just Mark Savard on Twitter, and it's official Mark Savard on Instagram. So it's a shit show.
Yes.
Go to marksavard.com, and that's
all the links are there. Right? Yeah, that's how we usually chase it. So, and if you need a laugh during all this, which we will all do, which is why after you and I are done, I'm going to do a separate stream of me going after this ridiculous press conference today. So, but we deal with crowds all the time, and we can see them start to lean towards a thought and lean away from a thought, and they become kind of a mass. And it's easy in some situations when that happens to forget the individuals within it, because you have to start articulating what you're doing from a stage point of view, right? Like, oh, this crowd, this particular pile of people, they're not hearing this the way yesterday's crowd did. And in an emergency like this, the psychology, like, it must hit triggers in your brain for stuff that's so deep-seated, right?
Well, because we all come from a different background. You and I are different because of our experiences.
Yeah.
Because of our upbringing, because of how our subconscious mind takes in ideas. And ultimately, we're only responsible for what we say. We're not responsible for what the other person hears. And there's a disconnect there.
Right.
And sometimes it takes multiple angles to approach an idea. And especially with hypnosis, when I'm giving suggestions to a participant on stage, I will triple load suggestions, and I'll give it 3 different ways in order to get the desired result that I want, because everyone has different life experiences that may not connect with what I'm asking. They come from different cultures.
Right.
There's a language barrier. Specifically, I had a show one time where it was years ago, where I was doing, they wanted them to be professional boxers, and they're training for upcoming match, and then the females were the dancers, and then I would switch the roles, and it was entertaining. Well, this one person's taken the suggestion, and they're packing things up, and they're moving things around, only to find out it was an exchange student from Germany, and they were boxing things up.
Right, because they heard boxer, and that's what they thought what you meant, right?
Right. So in my show, it's very, very, it's important to be very specific with the suggestions I'm giving. And this is what we're experiencing right now in this government, is there's no
specificity.
One linear message.
Right.
It is an absolute shit show that it is built on emotional reactions. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, Trump understands how to emotionally manipulate the followers. But what's happening is we're missing the important, boring scientific content that we need. Because
we're also getting a major conflicting message in how he's handling it, and how his group is handling it, and how everyone is reacting to the falsehoods that he's saying, because they are actively, they are saying trust the president while actually actively saying what he just said is wrong. And so the conflict there has to put a little hitch in their get along, as far as getting that message across no matter what. Trust the president. But I do want to clear up one thing. Like, if you're saying that every time, your brain is going, wait a minute, I'm in a really vulnerable spot right now, and what they're saying doesn't sound like trust the president.
Well, I mean, but it also depends where you're getting your information from.
Sure.
Because, you look at a lot of right-wing media followers, they'd rather not see science. I mean,
did you just say Nazi? I heard that. I heard it. You heard it first, folks.
But I mean, when you look at, there's only one group in the entire planet that doesn't believe in global warming, and it's the Republican Party of the United States. Everyone else is on board.
Right.
So when you look at that news, so they're naturally going to follow what everything that Trump says is accurate. He's the most powerful person in the universe. And remember, there's 5 ways to reprogram the subconscious mind.
Okay.
First is repetition.
Right.
You could rewrite the subconscious mind with constant repetition of an idea. Your mom says, you're so stupid, you're so stupid, you're so stupid to a small child. Eventually, like Forrest Gump says, stupid is as stupid does. Second, intense emotion. If you can motivate them through some type of emotional experience, it rewrites the subconscious mind. Near-death experiences, cancer scares will stop a smoker. Sometimes they don't. But, those types of things, this type of intense emotion overrules the subconscious mind. Third, identifying with the group or parent. So, for example, you always seem to, even though your parent might not have all the knowledge, we tend to go to them for approval, or we identify with groups, such as, the neighbor has a BMW, and it's, or Mercedes-Benz, and you want to buy a Mercedes-Benz because he's a doctor, he's successful, so we identify, we tend to group together. Fourth, person in a position of power. Person in a position of power, you put on a lab coat and all of a sudden, I think they're smarter than me. So we accept ideas.
Or you put a presidential seal in front of them. Right.
Correct. And immediately, like, the president knows more information than we know, so what he's saying is right. So, and the fifth way to rewrite the subconscious mind is hypnosis. Hypnosis takes some of that subconscious watchdog or critical factor, removes it, and allows ideas to come in.
Right.
And if you look at this administration, they really do all 5.
Yes, they do. Yeah, because especially he is repeating the phrase, we're doing a fantastic job, fantastic job, fantastic job, like, so often that the interesting thing is there a point where, and this is a curious aspect, that if you're, it seems like his control point is on 3 of those things. One, a position of authority, groupthink, and repetition. Those seem to be the main ways that he controls the Republican Party and way he thinks he's being successful most of the time.
Leave intense emotion out of it because he motivates them with fear and motivates his
well,
audience.
that's life doing it for him is my point. Like right now he's got an extra infusion of that because life has thrown this thing in that's very dangerous. There's one thing to abstractly say immigrants are coming your way. It's another thing entirely like look around you and your entire city is shutting down and no one can go outside because they might cough their neighbor to death. And that's a huge one that he's trying to grasp and own and use.
When you look at the followers of Fox News are actually more afraid of the caravan of people that were coming from coming from the south than they are from coronavirus. That's changed slightly, but a week ago that wasn't the case.
That's right. Well, is there a point where if let's say you build your stool out of 3 of those pillars, right? You're stabilizing your message. You're going, I'm repeating it. It's groupthink, and I'm in a position of authority. And then somebody undermines your authority over time, the stool starts to fall over.
Agreed.
And your ability to hypnotize people because you were like the I'm a billionaire / I'm the president were his points of authority. And that's why he's so like, don't show my taxes and don't, no one write anything bad about this. Don't talk to the press. Don't release the numbers.
Records even.
Yes, right. If he loses, because none of them on their own are strong enough for him. They aren't. Right. He could, if he's just somebody repeating something, if you don't give a crap about that person, it won't be enough by itself. A groupthink could go, actually, we're going with this dude. Groups do that, and they are right now, if you look at the polls towards Biden, for example. So the third tier that he's holding it all together, he's duct taping this stool together and being able to rest himself on it, is this whole thing of, I'm the president and I know stuff you don't know. So every moment they take away some of that authority, it brings into question that he's just a repetitive fool and we'd all best be served as a group to start looking for somebody else. And that's categorically how tribes have worked forever, right?
Yep. Eventually, somebody replaces that. And that's also another rule of the mind is an idea stays until it is replaced by a more rational idea to your own mind. So and that's just, we accept ideas like the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Right. And even on a cloudy day, we don't even have to worry about that. That is ingrained in it. We know that's happening. Until something happens otherwise, when we start to question that, that's when it begins to make that change. So with him, Dr. Fauci? Yeah. He, the last couple of press conferences, he's starting to stand up and kind of want to say something, and of course it's more contradictory. I think what's going to happen is he's about to be benched, because that's not helping Trump, and it's taken away his credibility, and Trump's about to bench him. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next day or two if we're seeing him not on the press conference.
Well, they also brought him. They didn't bring him out yesterday. He wasn't there, and I think the day before, I'm starting to lose track because they all kind of look the same. But the ass kissers always get spots on stage. Now Fauci might be, would rather be somewhere working for a living, and he's doing a lot of individual interviews where the contradiction happens, but it's not in the presence of the president. And if Trump's not on stage next to you, he doesn't give a crap if you say something else. If he finds out about it later, he'll fire you. But
here's the thing, though. Fox News is going to show the clip of Trump saying it. They're not going to show the other clip.
Right.
So he's covered, right? He's covered by editing.
The interesting thing, though, is he has enough, usually he has all of his executive time to watch TV and tweet and all that kind of stuff. And that has started to dwindle as the extremity of this circumstance has gone online. He's having this, the thing I played last night when I hopped online to test this software that I was messing with was him at FEMA. Headquarters talking to all the governors, and they did an hour for 50 governors, basically everybody getting like 90 seconds each, and some people he could just ignore. They didn't get everybody in, obviously. And he couldn't be less interested, but he has to be there. And he went straight to another meeting right after that. And you could tell it's grinding on him, because it reminds me of when George W. Bush, they would always talk about how he's in bed by 8 o'clock and doesn't get up till 9 the next morning, and he has a long lunch every day. Like this was, he was on autopilot, and Cheney was running stuff. Well, he tried that with Pence a little bit, like take care of that stuff, but he wants credit for everything. So anytime there's a camera going, he wants to be there, because again, that's the third stool. The minute Pence looks more effective than him without him present,
he's got to push it aside. Yep.
It all falls apart. So I don't want to keep you because I know you've got stuff to work on, but in just a couple minutes, tell people how they can manage their state during this process, and through forms of self-hypnosis. Obviously there's stuff at your website, marksavard.com.
Let's do better than that.
Yes.
Okay. Your viewers.
Yes.
Can send my office an email, info@marksavard.com.
Mm-hmm.
And if they put in the subject line, Hal said I'm stressed.
Yes.
We'll send them a free download for a stress. They don't have to buy it. We'll just send them a free download. If they're a follower of yours, we like it. So We'll send them a free download for stress relief. It'll feel like meditation. You pop your headphones in, turn the world off for a second, get the stress level down, because when your stress level's up, it affects your immune system.
Right
now, we need your immune system up to operating top notch. You need to get some good rest. Take care of your mind as much as you take care of your body. I recommend not watching any press conferences. I'd recommend following the CDC and the WHO. And
you can watch my take on it.
Yes.
So it's info@marksavard.com.
Yep.
I'm putting that as a graphic on the screen right now.
Sure.
So, guys, if you have if you want to de-stress and all this stuff, this is one of the ways to do it. So that'll be immensely helpful. Now, in that, what are you doing in this process? Because you got your kids, you got your girl, you got your business. We're all pulled back. We're crowd-oriented business, you and I. So if people are afraid to gather in groups, that's going to affect us for a good long while.
Yep.
So we've got to shift our business model. We got to come up with new ways to provide product to people and help them out.
Well, and I think if you focus on providing a service that helps people, then the money comes. But if you're taking advantage of a crisis, that's a shitty thing.
I agree.
But reality is, my last show was Sunday.
Yes.
When is Vegas going to open again? Is it going to be May 15th, maybe June, maybe July? I wouldn't be surprised if we don't open again until July.
Yep.
The good news about Las Vegas is it will bounce back quicker than most places in the country.
That's right.
Because all Vegas has to do is open the doors and say, hey, free hotels, no resort fees, no parking fees, come on down and just stay in the hotel because
And
they're
it's
going to make your money off gambling.
And it's better than a cruise ship because you can leave if there's a problem.
That's right.
That's what I was thinking. Like they literally, for a while leading up to this, and it's very curious. I was describing Vegas to people. They're like, what's it like to live there? Because I split time between here and LA all the time, and I said it's like living in Phoenix if 3 cruise ships had fallen out of the sky and just stuck in the earth like daggers. And if you work on the cruise ships, you see them all the time. Like there's people on them. I don't know what the hell they're doing. But if you live here, you just go, you want to drive down and see the cruise ships? I really don't care. I mean, so that's what we do. So, and then all of a sudden, all this stuff happened with cruise ships, and it started cascading across. And one of the things that's abundantly clear about, because what a cruise ship is basically a Vegas casino that's on the move without the gambling in some ways. They've got shows, they've got, you're seeing stuff like that's what it's about.
Casinos, they have gambling.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah. But the idea being is that you're just on a cruise ship sitting still is effectively this, but you can leave. If they go, we've had an outbreak of measles in this hotel, you can leave, and we can check people as they leave to go, okay, you're healthy, go to this hotel, we're going to put you up over here, you're ill, you need to go to the hospital. You can't do that on a cruise ship. You just have to sit in the friggin' water getting sick.
Yeah, so you're with the people. Whatever one person has, everyone has.
That's right. So Vegas-wise, I feel like Vegas, that's the one thing Vegas has up on everybody, is their ability to do that. Is the ability to go, look, if you have to leave, you can.
Right. But the other part of it, too, is that each hotel isn't just a hotel. The revenue can be made off the gambling. So the hotel now becomes the add-on. Hey, come stay for free. Come hang out, and we'll get your money another way.
Right. Yeah, we'll find you. Yeah, we'll crowbar it out of your way through shows or food or whatever. But yeah, so Cosmic Rose in the chat says Vegas is not Hotel California. Yeah, because you can check out and you can leave. Yeah. So anyways, I want to thank you for hopping on here with me, Mark. I really appreciate it. Guys, in the chat, go to info@marksavar.com. Write him an email. Tell him, Hal said I'm stressed, and he'll send you a free download where stress release self-hypnosis for you to listen to, gather yourself. It's just smart. So,
and in these tough times economically, there may or may not be some underlying suggestion, subliminal messaging to send me a few bucks.
Yes, right. That's right. There may or may not. He may jerk your arm digitally. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it, brother. You're awesome. We'll sign off now. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else, and go to info@marksavar.com and get the download because it's free and it'll help you out. And you can pass it on. Pass it on.
Stay healthy and stay smart.
It's absolutely. Cheers. Okay, we're gonna sign off. I'm playing music, and then I'm gonna be back on in a moment with the normal takedown. Yeah. Hold on 1 second.